Hi, Paul. I have heard that some people who have reported close encounter experiences have claimed they were able to prevent an abduction by invoking the name of Jesus. Doesn't that prove that the aliens are demonic?
Thank you for that question. I do have a lot of correspondence suggesting to me that all ET phenomena are demonic. And the reason you quote is one. Another reason is simply that I think theology has been too inelastic and hidebound in the way it looks at the world. And I know I went through a period as an eager evangelical where the whole of reality had to fit into a very small number of boxes. If something was real, it was either God, the devil, angels, demons, human, animal, vegetable, mineral, or it didn't exist. And so when we experience something anomalous that is disturbing, the tendency is to say, oh, I don't like that. That's not right. That's not godly. That must be demonic. And so there is that sort of reaction that people give to anomalous phenomena. But what you've said is really interesting in that question. Yes, I have heard from experiencers, contactees, who said they have been able to stop an unwelcome encounter by invoking the name of Jesus. Does that mean, therefore, that these beings are demonic if they're responding to the name of Jesus? The answer to that question is no, because I've also heard from a lot of people who've been able to stop those kinds of encounters without invoking the name of Jesus. The common element is experiences of a particular kind of entity, what today we would call a small gray. These seem to be the encounters that can be stopped when the experiencer kind of takes authority and says, no, you will not do that. You leave me alone. I don't give you permission for that. And there is a certain class of encounter and class of being that will then respond to that. If you go into our Fifth Kind archive, you'll find my interview with Steve Boucher, and he experienced a group encounter years ago when he was in a band, and the band was taken into a craft, this is his story, to be examined, and then was returned to the van that they'd been traveling in. There were about half a dozen of them. They were all examined except for one. And the one who was not examined was the one who said, no, I'm not going to let you do that. And they just sort of stopped, didn't know what to do with him. Now, I take Steve's story seriously. I take him as a credible witness. If you haven't seen it, go and watch that video and see what you think. See if you find his story credible, and then think through the implications that without invoking the name of Jesus, this person was able to stop this encounter moving forward. And I think it's because this category of being, the small gray, is really hardwired to do someone else's bidding. I think they are serving another demographic. That's one possible explanation. Another is that they are actually more respectful of our sovereignty than we think, and they just don't understand what distress they can cause us. And then when we say, no, you stop, they stop for that reason. But as I'm pointing out, in Steve's case and in similar cases, it's simply a matter of claiming your sovereignty, saying, I do not consent, and you will stop doing what you're doing. And with a certain category of being, it works, whether you invoke the name of Jesus or not. So it's not the name of Jesus that's the decisive factor. It's the experiencer's attitude and action in response that seems to be the decisive factor.
Paul Wallis is an internationally best-selling author, researcher, and scholar of ancient mythologies. Over the last decade, Paul's work has probed the world's mythologies and ancestral narratives for the insights they hold on our origins as a species and our potential as human beings. As a senior churchman, Paul served as a church doctor, a theological educator, and an archdeacon in the Anglican Church in Australia. Paul's work in church ministry has included training pastors in the interpretation of biblical texts, His work in biblical translation and interpretation has revealed a forgotten layer of ancient story, with far-reaching implications for our understanding of human origins and our place in the cosmos.